Today I want to talk to you about a simple yet very powerful pattern in React, and that is debounced values. Check this out. Here I have an example of a contact list application. So the user can search for a contact and it will be filtered. And check out what happens when I search for someone. As I'm writing, you're going to see that the UI jumps a lot. And the reason for that is that we filter the results after each keystroke. So if I open the DevTools, you're going to see that after each keystroke, we are searching for that given input. And one way to fix this problem is using debounced values. And debouncing this value just means that we wait a certain amount of time before we update the results. So let's just jump into the code. So here there's this contact list component that takes in the search. And this search is just the string that the user entered. And we use that in a custom React query hook to fetch the data and show it inside a table. If I go to the contact search, which is the component that has the text input and the contact list, here we have our state where the text is saved. And this text input has the value of the search. So the value is saved in the use state and it's reflected in text input and in the contact list. So let's explore how a debounced value can fix this problem. So let's create a hook called useDebounceValue, and this is going to get our initial value. Let's call it just value for now, and I'm also going to type it as a string. And what we want here is to have an internal state with the initial value of the given value, and I'm going to call this state debounced value. And here we can just return the debounced value. And what we want is to wait a few milliseconds after this value changes before we set our internal value. And for that, we can use the useEffect hook. And we're going to listen for the changes of the value. So every time that the value changes, we can set a timer. So set timeout, and then we update the value. So set debounced value to the given value and give it an interval, let's say 500 milliseconds. Now, every time that the value changes, we set a new timeout. And after 500 milliseconds, we update the value internally, and that's the value that we return. And since we're using useEffect, we should return a cleanup function that is going to be run to clean up this effect before the next effect is run. And in this function, we can remove or clear this timeout. So clear timeout. And for that, we need the ID of this timeout that we created. And we can call it like this. And now we can take this hook and plug it inside our component. So use debounced value and we provide our search. And this is going to return the debounced search. And now that we have our debounced search, let's pass it to the contact list, which is where the fetching data from the backend happens. I've saved this and now let's jump back to the browser, reload the page and see how this behaves this time. So I'm going to write GOH, and as you can see, it went from searching for empty to GO and then GOH. So let's try again, GOH, and as you can see, it goes from an empty string to GOH. And in between, you don't have that many jumping when you're searching for stuff. Now the implementation that I have provided works, but it could be a bit more generic. And for that, instead of having a string, we can just use a generic type that I'm going to pass inside the value. And also this interval can be parameterized. So interval, which is a number, and then I'm going to pass the interval here inside the timeout. And now we can pass in the interval, for example, of 1 second. And this useEffect is also missing the interval. So there you have it, debounced values in React. If you enjoyed watching this video, then you definitely want to check out my other video where I show you the 3 React patterns that I use for creating models. And if you found this custom hook useful, then make sure to check out my full video about my top 9 React custom hooks. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.